Big claims today from Kansas Attorney General Kris Kobach. He's accusing the pharmaceutical company Pfizer of falsely marketing and misleading Kansans about its COVID-19 vaccine. Let's get to 12 News digital anchor Keith Grant with those details. Keith.
Christy, today, Kansas Attorney General Kris Kobach claimed Pfizer lied about the safety and effectiveness of its COVID-19 vaccine. He alleges that Pfizer's claims about the vaccine being safe for pregnant women and that it doesn't cause heart conditions are false. The Attorney General also accuses the drug maker lied about the vaccine's effectiveness.
In such an environment, it is imperative that Kansans making that decision receive the truth. They needed the truth. All Americans needed the truth. And in multiple respects, Pfizer did not provide the truth.
Kobach's lawsuit comes after the Texas Attorney General filed a similar lawsuit against Pfizer last year. After that lawsuit, Forbes looked into the allegations. It showed the CDC found Pfizer's vaccine was about 92% effective at reducing COVID symptoms and 94% effective at preventing hospitalizations. Efficacy did drop from the original claim of 95% effectiveness, though that's after several variants of the disease began to spread. Now, in 2021, the FDA said the shot was 91% effective in preventing COVID-19. Both the CDC and the World Health Organization continue to recommend the Pfizer vaccine to prevent COVID-19.
All right, thank you, Keith. Listen.